Morning, good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thanks for starting your day with us. We're going to begin with the White House commemorating the 100th day of President Trump's second term. Today, the president will mark that milestone at a rally in Macomb County, Michigan. That's a key battleground state he flipped on his path to take back the White House in 2024. Yesterday, Trump signed several executive orders targeting immigration. He also met with House Speaker Mike Johnson as Republicans race to try to pass big pieces of the president's agenda by Memorial Day.
This morning, we're taking a closer look at how Americans are feeling, a gut check 100 days in. More than a dozen of the most recent national polls show that President Trump's job approval rating is underwater. We're also hearing directly from voters who helped bring him back to Washington. Well, new polls show the president's support softening among most Americans, especially on the economy. The MAGA base remains firmly behind Donald Trump, and that was crystal clear in conversations with NBC News. Our Shaquille Brewster joins us with some of those conversations from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and our senior national politics reporter John Allen is standing by with his analysis. Shaq, let's start with you. You traveled to Kent County, Michigan, to hear from President Trump's supporters. Let's begin with one of his key campaign promises, which was to improve the economy on day one. And the thing that's undeniably causing the most economic uncertainty right now is Trump's tariffs. So how is that sitting with his voters?
Good morning, guys. And yeah, you know, it's interesting here because when you look at polling, this is where you see some of his highest disapproval. But for his biggest supporters, it's largely about giving him the benefit of the doubt and sticking with what they see as the overall mission of those tariffs. Listen to some of those conversations.
Nobody likes to pay more for anything. I don't. But in the long run, I think it's going to be good. I'm on board with the mission.
My money went down just like everybody else's. My investments in there coming right back up. It doesn't faze me a bit.
Why doesn't it faze you?
Because that's what stocks do.
We're in a lot of debt, and if those tariffs are going to help bring back more to our economy, I'm all for it.
So you get the sense there. Everyone is seeing what's happening in the markets. People are seeing the impacts on prices. But for those who voted for him, they say this was not a surprise. This is what they were supporting, and they believe it's going to ultimately lead to something better, guys.
So what did President Trump's supporters specifically tell you, Shaq, that they're the most impressed by, the most happy with so far when it comes to policies we've seen enacted?
It's where you see some of his better numbers, and that's on one of his core issues, and that's immigration. Just listen to the excitement and the enthusiasm in the voices of his supporters when we're talking immigration.
I am totally excited. Everybody I know is excited. Absolutely everybody that's here illegally should go. I'm not one of these that, oh, the poor person. No, they need to go. They came in illegally.
I do believe if people are criminals and they're doing the wrong things, they should be taken out of our country. But some of the family stuff, I was wondering some ways we could have handled that a little bit differently.
Now, if you look at it, the amount of documented people coming across the border, it's done in a very structured way.
So you heard some softness there in terms of some of the images there, but there was still broad support for his immigration policies. But you know, when you look at Democrats, that's also something that's very animating for the other side of the aisle. So it's definitely an issue, big picture, where it causes that division.
Shaq, something we often heard from President Trump during his campaign, not to mention his first term, was his pledge to drain the so-called swamp. So far, his cuts to federal agencies are facing a lot of legal pushback. It's unclear how much money the government's really saving right now. Is this something that voters are concerned by at all?
There is some concern that you pick up on, but it goes back to that giving him the benefit of the doubt that this is something that's necessary. One person even kind of used that Trump analogy of treating a sick patient, that you may see things kind of deteriorate initially, but it's going to lead to a better place. Listen to some of those conversations.
It seems like a lot of people that probably got fired that shouldn't have been fired, but it seems like when they made that mistake, they're hiring those people back. People get hired and fired all the time. So, you know, that's just part of life.
Finding the fraudulent way that money is being funneled, either through shell companies and circumventing where they're supposed to be going, where the money's supposed to or earmarked for, coming back and lining the pockets of liberal agendas.
That last piece of sound really goes into the idea of why, even among those who say they question some of the cuts, maybe they disagree with some of the programs that have been eliminated or that the Trump administration have tried to eliminate, they still believe in the overall mission because they say they're seeing things, they're learning more about the government than they did before. It's a lot of nuance here. It's much more than just the polling, but that's why it's important to have these conversations, guys.
All right, Shaq from 2024 Battleground, Michigan. Shaq, thank you so much.
For more analysis here, let's bring in NBC News senior national politics reporter John Allen. John, good morning. You literally wrote the book, the best-selling book, I may add. There it is, and I believe it's over your shoulder as well, on this election. It's called Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It reads like fiction. It's so fantastic. I want to start with your reaction to what we just heard there with Shaq. This pretty much unwavering support from the president's base. When you look back at the people that you talked to during the campaign, is this where voters who put Trump back in the White House thought they would be?
Yeah, this is absolutely what they voted for, at least in terms of the large group of Trump's voters. They're very happy about what's going on with immigration. I think some of them are a little more wait and see about the tariffs, but until they have a big break with Trump, until, it will, let's put it this way, it'll take a lot of pain for them to get to a place where they're not with him. I think on a whole host of cultural issues, this is what they say they voted for. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't be able to find some folks who voted for Trump who are dissatisfied with one policy or the other, or perhaps disillusioned with him entirely. But you can see in the polling numbers that those, core MAGA voters are excited.
John, let's talk about this rally tonight in Macomb County, Michigan. What is the significance behind this particular spot? What do you expect we'll hear?
Joe, it's a great question. Macomb County, Michigan is the heart of what were called the Reagan Democrats back in 1980 and 1984. Basically, working class voters who crossed over from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party to support Ronald Reagan. You've seen in the last 3 elections that Donald Trump has won Macomb County and won it by the biggest margin that he has won it by in 2024. So 2016, 2020, won it by pretty big margins, and then 2024, an even bigger one.
John, obviously there were a lot of these promises that haven't quite come to fruition, whether that's fixing the economy for everyday Americans or ending the war in Ukraine. 100 days in here, there are these historically bad disapproval numbers. The White House, we know, of course, as every White House has before, will spend this 100th day touting accomplishments. But do you think that within the Trump White House, there's any concern or potential for course correction on the way?
I mean, absolutely, Savannah. I think any White House would be crazy not to look at ways that they can do things better. That said, I think there are very few people in this country that would argue that Donald Trump hasn't had the most active 100 days in any recent presidency. I mean, the scope and speed with which he is changing things is absolutely breathtaking, whether you like it or don't.
So, John, let's talk about where things go from here, because those voters Shaq spoke with seem to almost brush off any worries about the economy. Most experts are not brushing off those concerns. So if we have a recession, something sparked by tariffs, could that be the biggest threat to Trump's presidency?
Yeah, I mean, I think Trump will be judged on the state of the economy and perceptions about the state of the economy under him, as most presidents are. We live in times of relative peace and relative economic stability. But as we saw with Joe Biden, the persistent inflation numbers under him, I think it was really a drag on his presidency, a drag on his candidacy, a drag on Kamala Harris's candidacy. And if Trump, by the same token, whether we're talking about the metric of inflation or we're talking about different metrics, if people don't feel like they are getting ahead, or at least have the opportunity to get ahead, if they feel like things cost too much or they don't have enough money to pay for the things that they want, then that will, be defining for Trump, especially after he promised to fix things.
All right, John Allen, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Mark Carney is set to remain Prime Minister of Canada. His Liberal Party retained power in an election that was dominated by anti-Trump sentiment. The win caps off a stunning comeback for Carney's party. Though with nearly all the votes counted, they are expected to fall just short of a majority. That means they could either seek the support of a smaller opposition party or go it alone in what could be a less stable minority government. Carney's campaign was helped by voters who rejected President Trump's trade tariffs and threats of annexing Canada, points that Carney emphasized in his victory speech overnight.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen. Our old relationship with the United States, a relationship based on steadily increasing integration, is over.
Well, in Ukraine, rescue teams are searching through the rubble following another Russian drone attack overnight.
Ukrainian officials say that a 12-year-old girl was killed. 3 others were wounded when a drone hit a residential building in central Ukraine. The attacks come after President Putin declared there would be a 3-day ceasefire in the war with Ukraine next week from May 8th to the 11th. That's to commemorate the 80th anniversary of Victory Day. That's when Russia celebrates its victory over Nazi Germany in World War II.
NBC News Chief International Correspondent Keir Simmons is here in New York City in studio with us.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. It's great to have you with us.
It's great to be here.
Let's talk about this declaration of a ceasefire. I mean, how do you interpret that? And do you think we'll see Ukraine follow suit? Would they stick to something like that?
It's cynical chess playing by President Putin. He's called a 3-day ceasefire. What Washington and Kyiv were asking for was a 30-day ceasefire. Completely different. But more than that, he's called it during his Victory Day celebrations, if you like, in Red Square, marking the end of the Second World War. There will be world leaders with him, including the leader of China, President Xi. So what's he doing? He's effectively trying to block Ukraine from launching some kind of an attack in Moscow. We know they can do it. They killed a Russian general in Moscow just in the past few days. He's trying to prevent Ukraine from launching some kind of an attack like that when it would be so embarrassing for him with that event taking place. If Ukraine does that, he'll say, you see, you can't trust the Ukrainians with a ceasefire. It suggests that President Putin is absolutely ready to walk away from a deal with President Trump, that he doesn't necessarily feel that he needs to do it, and that and there are people in the Trump administration who think this, that he is, some people would say, playing games.
We saw that Trump met with Zelensky at the Pope's funeral over the weekend, and Trump seemed to walk away believing that Zelensky would be willing to give up Crimea.
And seemingly questioning President Putin's commitment, too.
Right. Talk about how big of a shift that would be. And does that mean, and it seems like where we're at right now, perhaps not, but that there's anything Russia gained during this war in Ukraine it would be willing to give up?
Yeah, I don't think that Ukraine being prepared to give up Crimea, and we don't know what that means, because it could be, you know, it could be a settlement a bit like Korea, where there's still a war, but they just agreed to stop fighting, that Ukraine never doesn't say, yeah, OK, Crimea belongs to Russia. They may just say, for now, we accept the situation. And the situation, we've been to Crimea. Look, the situation is just self-evident. Crimea does not have the pro-Ukrainians there that they had in the past. It would be enormously difficult. It's also a strategically vital location with a very important port, Sevastopol, for Russia there. So, you know, it's, in a sense, you know, Zelensky is kind of facing something like the inevitable. The question, though, is whether you kind of admit that before you get into negotiations. And then you point to the other question, the 4 other regions, some of which the Russians hold and some of which they don't, but which they say all should belong to them. That's a whole different point. Territory is always one of the most difficult questions when you're trying to agree an armistice.
Yeah. You mentioned a moment ago that car bomb that killed a Russian military figure outside of Moscow. We hadn't really heard anything from Ukraine, but overnight President Zelensky did speak.
Cryptic.
Yeah. Tell us about this.
Justice inevitably comes. Yeah. I mean, it was clearly the Ukrainians. I should say, I suppose, sources say, or, you know, it appears to be. But frankly, let's be honest. And as I mentioned earlier, the Ukrainians have launched these kinds of attacks on several occasions inside Russia. Their ability to do this is stunning and definitely will be concerning the Kremlin, which is, again, why I think Putin's put in this 3-day ceasefire. Justice inevitably comes, says Zelensky. It does make another point, though, that there are those in Ukraine, not small numbers, who think that it's not worth stopping fighting for the kind of deal that they're being offered. who are also prepared to keep fighting. So there is a reticence to compromise on both sides among some. That's the challenge for President Trump.
Absolutely. Keir, great to have you in New York with us.
You bet. Great to be
Thank
here.
you so much. Well, we saw a rare moment of bipartisanship last night as Democrats and Republicans passed a bill aimed at combating deepfake pornography online. In a vote of 409 to just 2, the House passed the Take It Down Act, which would make it a crime to post non-consensual, sexually explicit images on social media, including those generated by artificial intelligence. This form of harassment has become more prevalent as AI technology has gotten more advanced, including in schools where minors have become victims of deepfake images. Now, this bill will hold the people who create, but also those who just distribute, who just post these images, accountable for the first time. The bill also requires social media platforms, including Meta, Snapchat, and TikTok, to remove the content within 48 hours of receiving notice from a victim. Now, the bill will go to President Trump's desk, where he is expected to sign it into law.
We're learning new details this morning about that deadly collision between a boat and a ferry in Clearwater, Florida. This webcam footage shows the horrifying crash, which happened Sunday night. Police say the passenger boat, you see right there, plowed into that ferry, then ended up on top of it. One man was killed. The boat stayed at the scene for several minutes before taking off. Police later arrested the driver of the boat several miles away. Now we're learning more about the driver and the victims. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra has the latest.
Authorities confirming 2 identities, both the identity of the victim, the man who was killed, a father named Jose Castro, as well as the identity of the driver of that recreational boat that crashed into the ferry, identifying him as Jeffrey Knight. This, as investigators are trying to piece together why and how this crash happened.
Mayday, mayday, mayday. A deadly collision on the water and the chaotic aftermath unfolding in the dark of night.
The Clearwater ferry is adrift.
The violent impact caught on camera in Clearwater, Florida. A boat with 6 people on board colliding with a ferry carrying 45.
Our 911 call takers could hear what they described as horrific screaming in the background.
Andrew Tiriglio tells us he was part of a nearby pirate cruise boat tour. His crew was among the Good Samaritan boats that stopped to help.
We could just hear them yelling for help, stuff like that.
The ferry, seen in shallow water here.
We shined the light because they had no power on their boat, so that at least now they could see. We were yelling to them, communicating that there was help on the way.
A swarm of first responders combed through Clearwater Bay searching for survivors, calling the collision a mass casualty incident.
We had multiple folks with broken bones, a lot of orthopedic injuries, a great deal of soft tissue injuries.
At least 10 people were injured, with 2 airlifted, and 1 man, a father, was killed. Police say the boat that hit the ferry stayed at the scene for a short amount of time before officers later found it 3.5 miles away. The unnamed captain of the boat, labeled cooperative by authorities who say he voluntarily submitted to a breathalyzer that detected no alcohol. He was not held. The mystery deepening and waters still reeling from tragedy.
Now, investigators are going to be doing everything from combing through every piece of video that exists, interviewing every single eyewitness, and then doing things like checking to see if all of the lights were functioning on both boats. This is all a part of a comprehensive plan to not just piece together what the conditions looked like at the time of the crash, but the timeline both during and after the crash in those crucial moments, particularly as they're looking at when and why that driver of that boat drove away.
All right, Marissa, thank you.
It's time now for your morning news now. Weather, parts of the plains and the Midwest bracing for another round of potential severe weather today.
Angie Lastman's tracking everything for us. Angie, good morning.
Hi, guys. It's a broken record kind of forecast for our spring afternoon today. And even over the next couple of days, we're really going to keep it busy when it comes to the strong to even severe storms. We saw that yesterday. We're going to see it again today. And we've already started to see it kind of ramp up in the midsection of the country. We've got thunderstorm watches in effect across parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, a sliver of Missouri, Arkansas, and then kind of just going right into portions of Texas. This is going to last until 10 a.m. and then we'll likely see more of these here as the day goes on because we've got a couple of chances over a wide area to see some of these stronger storms develop and prompt these watches and warnings through the day. Here's what it looks like when it comes to your futurecast. You can see essentially anywhere from New York to Texas will have that chance to see some stronger storms. I think the best chance centered right around parts of Midland, Lubbock, stretching into Oklahoma, and then really from parts of upstate New York down to Indianapolis and into parts of Tennessee and Kentucky. We'll see that potential for some of those stronger storms to develop. The biggest threat is going to be the hail, but we've got the wind gusts upwards of 75 miles per hour and even a couple of tornadoes possible. So heads up for all of that. And more of the same really tomorrow, just in a smaller area. We've got some of those storms intensifying into the afternoon hours, and those will essentially be centered across parts of of Oklahoma and Texas. We could see some of those stronger storms in Arkansas as well. Hail, once again, the biggest threat, but notice how much smaller that area is that we'll be watching for tomorrow. But the ingredients are still going to be there. A couple of tornadoes possible, as well as those damaging winds. On top of that, we've got multiple kind of periods of some heavy rain that we'll watch for. And because of that, there's no surprise that the flood watches are already up. We even have a couple of flash flood warnings right around Oklahoma City. 7 million people, though, included in all of those flood alerts. And we've got a whole lot of rain to come. We've got potentially widespread amounts, you know, from the Northeast to the Great Lakes down to parts of the South of about an inch, maybe 2 inches. But notice right around that same area that's going to get multiple periods of heavy rain through the next couple of days. They could see anywhere from 5 to 8 inches. We've got places like Norman, upwards of 4.5 inches. We've got over 3 inches in places like Ardmore, Little Rock, even picking up a couple of inches. So we'll watch for the flash flooding to be a threat today and potentially into tomorrow, specifically Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, but as far north as Springfield and even St. Louis could see that. Otherwise, guys, where's my applause for the spring warmth? Yes, okay, we like it. We've got 80s on tap in New York City, Cleveland,
gorgeous
Lexington,
highs.
Richmond. I don't know about you, but I'm going to be outside later. 87 degrees in Little Rock. We've got spring and even summer-like temperatures across much of the east tomorrow, too. And then that May warmth continues for us. Who knew it was May already?
Good week. We approve.
True.
Well
Right?
done.
But listen, about time. It's May. We've got to get in the spring kind of theme.
I know.
Right.
So we're not slipping back.
We're not. Well, I don't know. I do the best I can with the information I have, guys.
There's only so much. Thank you, Angie. Appreciate
You got it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.